Welcome back, DPV TV viewers. It's Chris Nichols here. Today we're looking at the brand new Sigma 20mm DGDN f2 on, in this case, Panasonic L mount. We're coming to you from the lovely mountain town of Kimberley, BC. Now, we've played with quite a few of Sigma's new contemporary prime lenses, and we've loved the build quality and overall the image quality on them, but this 20mm is the widest that they make, and an f2 is really nice. Just having that extra capability for low light shooting, or if you do want to get close up and get some shallow depth of field. So let's see if this particular contemporary lens holds up the same standard of quality as the other ones we've played with. Jordan, the straps, see, they're just the worst thing ever. You have those scissors you always carry on you, the ones you like to run with? So Kimberley, British Columbia is this quaint little mountain town, skiing, snowboarding kind of resort. And we're here in the Platzl. They've got a German flavor to this town, and this is supposed to be reminiscent of sort of a, Austrian, German Alps kind of mountain town. So, you got some cute architecture here. We've got the clock over there. And so, it should be a nice sort of architecture test just for samples on the 20mm. Now, when you first take a glance at the 20mm contemporary here, it actually looks very similar in size to the other contemporary primes we've played with, and I like that. I mean, it is very compact, just a 62mm filter thread, nothing crazy there. The all-metal construction just really looks nice, and it feels good in the hand. I love the manual focus rings on these lenses, and they are nice and smooth. The aperturing is really easy to find when you've got your eye up to the viewfinder, and again, those click stops feel really good. Overall, it still has a very compact design to it, easy to fit in a bag, and easy to carry around for the day. Now, autofocusing speed on an ultra wide might not seem like a big deal, but that being said, there's still some competition on the market. Now, the Sony for E-mount full frame, their 20mm is a fantastic lens, and it's a very fast focusing lens. I would say though this is pretty comparable, not quite as quick, but from infinity to close and then back again, it's still quite fast, quite snappy. For what you use an ultra wide angle lens for, architecture, landscape, shooting city stuff like this, I don't feel like it's going to be a problem in any way, shape, or form. So overall, very happy with the focusing speed here. Now, as I mentioned already, the manual focusing on this lens is nice and smooth. It'll focus down to about 4 inches as maximum close-up. So you can actually do some pretty interesting close-up stuff as well. But when it does come to manual focusing for video, although it is a nice smooth turn, as you can see here, there is a little bit of breathing. And that's where our actual focal length zooms in and zooms out as we manually focus the lens. For still photography, not a big deal, but for video work, it's just not as desirable as you might find in some of the other lenses. Now, you would not know it by the light we have today, but it's actually been a really sunny weekend. So we had some sample photos taken already to test flare and sunstars. And when it comes to flare, which is very important on a landscape lens, I'd say actually this handles it quite well. You still retain really good contrast. You're getting a little bit of ghosting, but it's not crazy. It's nothing insane. We did notice that you often get these little red, bright spots. They're obtrusive. It looks like your sensor's burned out a bunch of pixels, but in truth, it's a very small red dot, and it is very easy to fix in post. Now, when it comes to sunstars, that's another desirable thing in a landscape lens, and this does a really nice job. They're easy to make. You get nice sharp tines on the stars, and overall, I was actually really pleased with that aspect on this lens. Now, I'm going to shoot a 20mm lens, often stop down, just get a lot of depth of field, but this is an f2. There is potential there to get some shallow depth of field, and it's worth trying out because I really do like the way the bokeh looks on this 20mm lens. Nice, smooth transitions from in focus to out of focus areas. You can see shooting wide open at f2, we get a little bit of cat's eye towards the corners, but it's pretty minor. By f4, it basically is a non-issue. As well, when you do stop down your aperture, you'll notice the bokeh still stays nice and round. We're not getting any polygonal shapes, no onion rings at all, so very smooth looking bokeh. Now, around your bokeh, just a slight soap bubble effect with specular highlights, which sometimes gives you a nervous or energetic look to the backgrounds out of focus, but honestly, I didn't see that really being a factor here. Nice and smooth looking bokeh. Overall, very easy to work with and very pleasing to look at. Now, one thing we always like to test is LOCA, longitudinal chromatic aberration, because this is something that's very hard to get rid of in post, and that's where you get that sort of color fringing in the foreground and background out of focus areas. Now, in this particular lens, LOCA is actually very well controlled. You can see slight, tiny amounts of it, pretty typical of these contemporary lenses, and again, nothing I would really be concerned about. Now, sharpness is something we've been really pleased with on the other contemporary Sigma lenses. Now, today we're testing on Panasonic S1R, which will absolutely push a lens's limits, but we actually do our test chart shots with the 60 megapixel Sigma FPL just to really see how sharp this lens is. And overall, I was actually very pleased. So first thing I'll say is this, shooting wide open at f2, you can see here in the center, decent sharpness, and actually what's impressive is it goes all the way through to the corners. They still hold up quite well, even wide open at f2. All right, and so now we've stopped the lens down to f4. You can see the sharpness just gets even better, just excellent in the center, and then extends all the way through to the corners. So stopping down the Sigma 20mm just a little bit gets you even performance all the way through, and this makes it an ideal lens for any sort of two-dimensional reproduction, but architecture, landscapes, optical quality is excellent. So it looks like we have another excellent Sigma Prime lens in their contemporary series to look at. Now, if I was buying for Sony E-mount full frame, that's a tricky one just because the Sony 20mm is such an excellent lens. Although optically I'd say these are both very similar, and either one would be good for you for photography. I think it would really just come down to, if you're okay with the price difference, and of course the Sony being a faster focusing lens, if that's going to be an advantage for you. Now when it comes to L mount, you don't have a lot of options. Sigma did make a 20mm 1.4, but it's an older, bulkier design. I don't really recommend it. I really think the new Sigma 20mm f2 is the way to go. Panasonic doesn't have any lenses that match up with this, but we are eager to play with their new 18mm f1.8. It's on the horizon, but not available yet. That might give you some more options, but I still think the 20mm f2 is definitely a great way to go. All right, as always, we hope you appreciated and enjoyed this video. Leave your comments below. Do check out dpreview.com, excellent articles, as well as a link in the description below to our sample gallery here in Kimberley, BC. And thank you guys for joining us. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you soon for another episode of DPReview TV.